Hi, my name is Michael Relth. I'm an artist and an animator, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use Procreate Dreams. I'm making this video for 3 reasons, and the first reason is I'm going to be teaching a class in late March, and I want to promote it. The class is an in-depth, extensive animation class that runs for 8 weeks at a school called Underpaint Academy. The critique seats for this class are completely sold out, but you can still sign up for the spectator seats and have unlimited access to the recordings as well as access to a Discord server for both the school and the class, which I think is awesome. The second reason for me making this video is for anyone who's taking the class. I want to make sure that everyone has access to some tutorials so that they can get up and running with software, and we can jump right into the class to learn the fundamentals of animation without worrying too much about the tech. And lastly, I just want to put these videos out there so that anyone who is struggling with the technical software aspect of things can get past it, hopefully, and begin making the animations that they want to make. Okay, so Procreate Dreams, what is it? Procreate Dreams is an animation and painting app for the iPad. It can do keyframe animation like After Effects, and it can also do hand-drawn animation. I was commissioned by Procreate to do 2 commissions while the app was still in beta, and I made this. And I also made this. And you can see both of these on my YouTube channel if you're interested in watching them in full. Altogether, I'd say I probably put, 1,000 hours into this software, so I feel very confident in sharing what I know. With that out of the way, let's actually dive in and learn the app. Allow me to show you the app in total. We are going to start off looking at the interface and what all the options do. And then after that, I'm going to show you an example of how to animate something. So to start, when you first open up Dreams, it might look something like this. If it doesn't look exactly like this, you can hit this button right here to hide and show the locations of where your files will be saved. Okay, I'm just going to hide that really quick. Now, in order to make a new animation, we're going to hit this plus button right here. Now it says right here, create a new movie, and we get options for different resolution sizes. So let's start off with widescreen. If you tap this red HD right here, you can change the resolution. And then if you tap this ellipsis right here, you can change the frames per second and the duration. We're going to set this to 3 seconds. And now you have the option of clicking draw or empty. Draw will start you in drawing mode with 1 blank frame for you to draw on, and empty will start you with a completely empty document. We are going to choose empty. The first button I'm going to show you is this one down here, down in the lower left corner. When you tap on it, you go back out to your main theater view. Now I'm going to long hold on the file that we just created and rename it. Let's call it Smiley, because we're going to make a smiley. Now I'm going to tap back into this file. First things first, let's look at the immediately apparent things on the screen. There are 3 different sections. This is your stage right here. These are your different modes, and this is your timeline. You can use gestures that are fairly common to any smartphone user. If I pinch, I will zoom out. If I expand my fingers, it will zoom in. If I rotate 2 fingers on the canvas, it will rotate the canvas. And then if I get all messed up and I don't know where I am anymore, I can quickly pinch, and then the scene will reset to the default zoom level and rotation. Okay, let's take a look at these different modes. The first mode over here is the add mode, and let's tap it really quick to see what it's all about. We have options of adding a track, photos, video, text, or files, such as an audio file or something else. The first thing that we are going to add is a track, so go ahead and tap on the track button. You will notice that a gray bar has appeared right here. This is a track. Now that we have added a track, we are going to go over to the next mode, which is the squiggly line. This is the draw and paint mode. If you've ever used Procreate before, you'll be familiar with these buttons up here. Once I enter the draw and paint mode, and you'll know that we're in it because it's highlighted pink right here, I get options up here. If I tap it again, those options go away. And these options are just like Procreate. You have your brushes right here. You have your smudge tool right here. Eraser tool right here, layers, which we're not really going to use, and you have your color selector right here with its different modes at the bottom, and these should all look very familiar if you are used to using Procreate. Since we are in the draw and paint mode right now, I'm going to show you how to import custom brushes from Procreate. I think this also works the same from files, but for now we'll just show it in Procreate. So I'm going to swipe up so I get this menu right here on iOS, and then I'm going to hold down on Procreate, hover over Procreate Dreams so that it's split. Now when I tap into here, you'll see that I have Procreate over here and Procreate Dreams on the left. What we're going to do is select a brush that we want. I'm going to select Mr. Pencil. I'm going to drop it over the interface of Procreate Dreams. Now when I tap on my brush icon right here, you can see Mr. Pencil is now in Procreate Dreams. So you can import your favorite brushes in that way. And now that I'm done with this, I'm going to slide this over and get rid of Procreate. Okay, so I'm going to select a brush, and you guys do the same, and I'm going to select black. And now I'm going to draw something on the stage. I'm going to draw a smiley. That's way too big. So if your brush is too big, you can adjust the size right here, and you can adjust the opacity right here. I'm going to leave opacity at 100 and put the size down at about 3 for this brush. I'm going to draw a kind of oval. Cool. Now let's give him a smiley. Oh no, I've drawn the smile in the wrong place. Okay, you can 2-finger tap to undo. And if I want to redo it, I can 3-finger tap to bring it back. So I'm going to undo that. And now I'm going to give him a proper smile. There we go. So happy. What a good guy. Now for the purposes of showing you the next tools, I'm going to draw this same smiley a few more times. I'm going to go over one frame, and you'll see that there's a ghosted image of our previous drawing. If that doesn't show up for you, you can tap this time code right here and it'll open up onion skin options. So we can hide onion skins, we can edit the colors of them, the opacity in the frames, and we can also change the background color from this menu right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on my timeline. In order to do that, I'm going to 3-finger hold on the timeline and slide to the right. If I slide to the left, it'll zoom out. So we're going to slide to the right. I'm going to 2-finger hold on the timeline to navigate over this way, zoom in a little bit closer. Now, if I want these pieces of what are called content to be taller so they're more visible, I can 3-finger go up and down. So up and down will change the height of them. Left and right will sort of change the zoom level of the timeline. This is helpful to remember for later. Now that we have our second drawing selected, what if I want to draw a little bit bigger on this canvas right here? What I'm going to do is you see this little bar right here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it down at the bottom. This opens up what is known as flipbook mode. Then we can zoom in using those same gestures as before. And now we are going to trace over our last smiley. I am a drawer. Okay, now let's do it one more time. Just speed through this. And when you've got your 3 drawings right here, look at them go. And if you want to get back to the regular timeline, take your flip book and sort of pull it down into the bottom of the screen. Your timeline should pop up. Additionally, a way to get back to the timeline and out of draw mode is you can hit this done button right here. But it takes you out of draw mode. All right, let's watch our beautiful animation. What do you think? I think it's a little bit too fast. So what I want to do now is I want to extend the duration that each one of these drawings hold. In order to do that, we are going to use a new mode. This is called the timeline edit mode, which is these 2 boxes right here. So let's tap that. I normally call this mode select multiple frames because that's all I use it for. But you get this cool like pink electric lasso that you can use to draw cats if you want. But it's not actually used for drawing. It's used for selecting. If things are unselected, we can swipe over them to select. And if we want to deselect them, we can swipe one or all of them to deselect. So it is a quick way to select multiple things in your file. I got a little bit ahead of myself. First thing, let's take the edge of this drawing and let's make it a little bit longer. So tap and hold on the edge of the drawing right here. And you can see we can change the duration of the drawing. There is a problem though. What if I want to change in this direction? Or what if I want to change this drawing and there's one next to it? It doesn't work. So I'm going to show you an additional gesture that does make it work. What we're going to do is we're going to select all of our layers, and then I'm going to tap on this edge right here, and you can see just the end one is scaling, which is not really what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an additional finger and hold it down anywhere on the timeline. And then you can see I'm resizing all of my drawings. I'm going to have this go out to 6 so that each drawing is holding for 6 frames. Then I'm going to let go. Now with the select multiple mode on, what we're going to do is we're going to copy multiple. So I'm going to long press on this piece of content here and then click copy. I'm then going to move my playhead over here to the empty space next to it, and I'm going to hit paste. Great. Now let's do that again, but let's copy everything. So I'm going to select everything, long hold on this last drawing, hit copy, go to the empty frame next to it, long hold on the empty space, and hit paste. Now, if we've done this right, if our document is 3 seconds long and each one of these drawings is held for 6 frames, we should have a sort of perfect loop that sits right in 3 seconds. Okay, last but not least, make sure that timeline edit is selected. I'm going to hit pause. We're going to select all of these frames, long hold on any part of it, and then we're going to hit this group option right here. Now what this did is it made a folder for all of our frames of animation. So if I twirl this down, you can see that all of my animation is in here, and I can move it all up here, and everything comes with it. So this is very, very helpful. You can do a lot of really complex stuff with this. And on that note, let's take a look at these manipulation tools up here. So if I have the folder selected, you can see this little pink corner right here. If I select it, I can change the scale of my guy. I'm going to undo that. I can move him around by tapping and holding with my finger or with the pencil. And I can also tap on the empty space near the screen, just as long as he's selected here or in the timeline. One last thing that's very helpful is this ellipsis right here. We can flip horizontal and flip vertical, but what's really important is edit anchor. So this chooses where our guy is going to be scaled from and rotated from. So I'm going to put the anchor point down at the bottom and hit done. I haven't shown you rotation yet. So let's go up to this guy and select him. If we tap on one of these corners, we will see that a little arc appears. So there's one right here, right here. It doesn't matter where you grab the arc, but if you tap and hold on the arc, you can rotate your drawing or your folder or whatever. And this is very helpful. Okay, now a few additional timeline things. I'm going to make sure that I have one of my drawings selected. I'm going to hit this plus button and I'm going to create a new track. Because the drawing is selected, it will make a new track inside of the group. You can see that it is inside of the group if I long hold and press on the track and then move it up and down. There's a tiny little line right here that shows what is in the group. What I'm going to do is I'm going to long hold on this track and I'm going to move it below here so that we can paint in some kind of color behind this smiley. I'm going to choose a pink color and then make my brush a little bit bigger and paint something in there. But we have a problem. So it's only on there for 1 frame. So the way we can fix that is by zooming in, long holding on the edge of the layer and dragging out the duration of it. And there we go. Now our smiley that is sort of jittering has a still color that's behind him. All right, now that we have those tools figured out, the next thing that I'm going to show you is the perform mode, which is this circle right here. Let me hit pause and go back to the beginning of my animation. If I hit this circle right here, you can see that I get a little record icon right here and it says it's ready. Well, what's it ready for? As long as we're at the beginning of the animation, let's take our guy and just sort of wiggle him up and down. Cool, now when I hit play, you can see that this button right here has recorded the movement that I just did. In all honesty, I don't actually use this function that much, but I want to explain it because it's here. Some other things that you can do with the record mode, we're going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to make sure that the record mode is still going. I'm going to tap the corner and then grab the arc, and I'm going to make him do a little sway. All right, so now when I hit play, is doing a silly little dance. And this isn't limited to just translation, scale, and rotation. We can also add effects. So if I hover this little icon here over the bottom, you can see that it gives me the image. That means that it's adjusting the translation. But if I put it up over the top, I get this icon right here. And this icon opens up a whole number of effects if we tap it. I'm going to tap it at the beginning of our animation. So let's go up to filter and let's add HSB. HSB is hue, saturation, and brightness, just like Photoshop and any other painting software. I'm going to hit this record mode right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the hue slider and I'm going to move it around while he jumps around. All right, now when I watch the animation, you can see that we have position, we have rotation, and we have the hue being adjusted over time using the perform mode. Like I said, I don't really use this mode all that much, but I can see how it could be really useful for blocking out ideas. Okay, now that we have this very silly thing figured out, let's go and actually animate something. And by that, I mean like hand-drawn animation. Let's go draw something. I'm going to start us off animating a bouncing ball. When I was a student, I never really understood why teachers wanted to start with a bouncing ball, but I think I understand it now. And rather than telling you, I'd rather just show you. Okay, so I've got this file ready for you to look at, and you can see that there's something going on right here, right? This is a bouncing ball, but what exactly is it doing? This ball seems sort of bigger and heavier, and this ball seems like a little bunny rabbit or something like that. What could this mean? Like, you see it's moving, but what does it really mean? I'm going to turn this off for a second. So you can see I've sort of traced over the animation that I did for this commission. So you can see in this case that the bouncing ball represents the total movement of the character across screen space. It's very helpful to think about your character animation in terms of the spacing that they're going through on the screen space. So let me show you another example. So here is another example. We have one sphere and then a couple extras, and they come towards the camera, and then a big sphere. Yeah, you might be able to guess roughly what this is. But this is the movement of this character and the things that they're throwing. And I think that this also illustrates why it's a good idea to start with the bouncing ball. So with all of that said, hopefully I've convinced you. Let's animate a bouncing ball. Okay, now that we're back in the theater view, I'm going to hit this plus button once more. And I am going to start with the same settings as before, only we are going to do something different so that I can illustrate something else later. We are going to start with 12 frames per second, and later we're going to change it to 24. So you can see 12 at the top right here, and you can also do custom. So I have it set to 8. You can do it whatever frames per second you want. You can enter it for yourself, but we're going to select 12. We're going to go and create an empty scene. Wha-bam. Now I'm going to go back out to the main theater view and rename it. Okay, now that we are in this scene, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a ground plane, and I'm going to draw the arc that our ball is going to be moving along. Ground plane. And then some kind of arc. Boom, 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 boom. Cool, so that looks kind of good. I think I drew it a little bit big, so let me scale it down, reposition it. And next, I'm going to create a new track, and I'm going to draw the rough shape of my ball as accurately as I can. I'm going to put this arc sort of representing the middle of the ball. Cool. So this is the size and shape of my ball. What I'm going to do is I'm going to long hold on this space on the timeline, and I'm going to say, if I long hold on the space, it will duplicate the whole track. If I long hold on the content, it will duplicate just the content. So make sure you have the space selected. And then I'm going to move this one down here. Duplicate it again and move it over here. I just want to set myself up with a guide so that I don't lose volume later on in the animation. First things first, I'm going to extend the length of all of these drawings. To extend all of them at the same time, we're going to do our timeline edit mode. We're going to use our electric lasso thingy and select all of them. and then long hold on the edge. And then I'm going to zoom out while I'm long holding so that it goes to the end of my document. If you need to change something in your document, you can click on the name of it right here, and then it'll open up all of your preferences for your document. Let's go into properties and let's change this to, I don't know, 5 seconds. That sounds good. Once again, I'm going to timeline edit, select multiple, and then drag them until they are 5 seconds. Now, in order to drop the opacity of this whole thing, I'm going to group everything. Long hold, group. I'm going to get out of timeline edit mode, go over to the first frame of this group, and then hit this little icon right here. I'm going to go to filter, opacity, and drop the opacity of the whole group. This is the only way to affect opacity of groups that I know of is through keyframing. Put it at 30. I'm going to put it at 30. Cool. So now we have a guide and we can start drawing our animation up top. In order to have more space, I'm going to go into drawing mode and put my timeline down so we get into flipbook mode. It's very easy because we have a guide, so I can just sort of, figure out where I want the shape of my ball to be. I can go over to the next frame, and what this is called straight ahead animation. So we're not really planning the timing so much. We're just sort of feeling it out one frame at a time. That's called straight ahead animation. And we're gonna keep going until the ball falls onto the ground. Let me speed through this really quick. And I'm going to start stretching the ball a little bit as it gets closer to its fastest moment. So, which will be right here. I don't like the position of this, so I'm going to hit done, select it, and kind of reposition the drawing down a little bit. Go back into draw mode, go back into flipbook mode, and then we're going to go in and have the ball kind of squashing. Go over to the next frame and have it shooting out of that position. Let me play this really quick. So that's what we have so far. And I'm going to go ahead and animate the rest of this and speed through it so that this video isn't 10 hours long. Now for this last bit, I'm going to make the ball do a little hop right here. Maybe just a 1 frame hop. And it comes back down, and then it's just going to gradually decelerate into this last position. And so I don't have to draw this ball a million times and worry about the volume. I'm just going to trace for a few frames and then reposition them, because brain work like that sometimes. Okay. If you're out of drawing mode and still want to see your onion skins, you can tap on the timeline here and say show onion skins. Okay, I think that that's probably going to feel pretty good, so let's watch it. All right, when I watch it play back, I notice that there's something funky going on right here. You can probably see it. And if you can't, I'll zoom in on it so you can know what I'm talking about. With these selected, you can see that the spacing between them is staying consistent until right here, where it sort of jumps. So let me just reposition these guys a little bit, go out of drawing mode. And now I'm going to insert an additional drawing, but how exactly do I do that? So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use that gesture from earlier where I'm going to extend this drawing by 1 frame and push all the other ones to the side. So hold on the edge and then an additional finger on the timeline. I'm going to stretch that frame right there. And then I'm going to bring it out back without the extra finger. Now I have an empty space and I can draw another frame. Okay, let's watch that play back and see if it's any better. Yeah, that's feeling a lot better, but our ball completely disappears at the end. So let's extend the edge of this frame. Grab the edge right here and then zoom out, and we'll have it end right at 5 seconds. So if we want to watch our animation play, what we can actually do is we can use 4 fingers and tap the stage. This will bring up a full screen render of our movie, and we can hit play right there. You'll notice, though, that something weird happens. It just stops. It doesn't loop. We might want to watch the animation play a few times. So that is something that we have to adjust back in the preferences. I'm going to hit back. I'm going to go click on the name of my file and then go to timeline. And then we're going to change the playback mode to loop. Done. Go back 4 fingers on the stage and hit play. Now our animation will loop. And we might not want our animation to be that long either. Let's change the duration of our animation. I'm going to once again tap on the name of the file right here. And then I'm going to change the duration to 3 seconds. Now we can watch it full screen. It'll loop and we don't have to wait a long time at the end. What if we want to change the timing of our drawings? What if we want our drawings to be held for 1 frame or 2 frames or 3 frames? How exactly would we go about doing that? I told you earlier that we're going to set the document to 12 frames per second. We're going to change it later. So let's go ahead and change that right now. So I'm going to change the frames per second from 12 to 24. This will give us the flexibility of having things hold for 1 frame. So let's go to done. And you'll notice it changed the timing as well. And we don't want that. So let's leave it at 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Good. But now we have an issue. When we hit play, it's moving way too fast. In order to fix this, we just have to use our retime trick from earlier to extend all of the drawings by 1. I'm going to go into this timeline edit mode right here, and I'm going to select all of these drawings. I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to select the edge of this drawing, and then I'll hold an additional finger on the timeline and extend it by 1 frame. Now every drawing is held for 2 frames, just like it's 12 frames per second, but we have the flexibility of 24. All right, let's go in and mess with some of the timing a little bit. We already know that one trick that we just used. Let's extend the timing on these 2 frames where the ball is most high up in the air. So we're going to make this one 3 frames. We're going to make this one 3 frames. The same gesture from earlier, grabbing the edge and then an additional finger on the timeline. We're going to retime these 3 so that they are 1 frame longer. 1, 2, 2, 3. Now these frames that are moving very fast where the ball is stretching, let's make those 1 frame. And let's do the same over here. And the last one will be right here. Great. So let's watch that playback. Now the timing has something a little bit extra. One last thing I want to mention, because this took me a minute to figure out, is what happens if you want to completely delete a drawing? How do you close the gap in your timeline? Let's say that we have this drawing. I'm going to say duplicate. It'll insert it in the timeline right here. I'm going to make this really awful in between that doesn't belong there. It's like, maybe it like goes up backwards. Okay, so I've added this extra drawing that we don't need. Let's watch it play back. You're watching animation playback, you're like, huh? What's that? So then you go in there and you realize, oh, I don't need this drawing at all. Let me delete it. Oh no, we're left with a blank space right here. So how do we close this blank space? If you think about the gestures we've learned already, you might be able to figure it out on your own. Tap and hold this corner right here to close the gap, and then tap and hold the other edge with the extra finger on the timeline and bring it back to, I think this one was 3 frames long. There, now we've closed a gap in the timeline. The last thing I'm going to show you is how you can work with passes and do cleanup and color. So what we are going to do is we're going to select everything with the timeline edit mode on this track, long hold and group this whole animation right here. I'm going to actually turn off my guide layer. And then with just my animation selected at the beginning of the timeline, I'm going to drop the opacity of this down to like 30. Now we sort of have a guide layer. I'm going to insert a new track right here below this guide layer. And then I'm going to select a cleaner brush. You can select whichever one you want. And then I'm going to do a clean line work pass. That's a little bit off. Let me fix that. There we go. Now you could go through and do this for every frame. What I'm going to do is just copy and paste the drawing and manipulate it into place. And I think I'm going to speed through this so that I don't bore everyone. Now, when I get to a stretchy frame, I'm going to rotate it. And I'm going to grab the edges of my bounding box. I'll get a little bit closer. And rotate it into this shape. We can do the same for this next frame. Remember to match the timing of your roughs. So there we have the first little bit of it. And now I'm going to go through and speed through the rest of it. Okay. All right. So I'll zoom out and hit play, and this is what we've animated. And I can actually turn off this rough animation right here up top and just have my clean animation going at the bottom. Now, if you wanted to, we could color this. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to go back to timeline edit mode, select everything and group, go out of timeline edit. And then I'm going to long hold on this space that is next to the group and hit duplicate to duplicate the entire track. Long hold and then go up to rename. We're going to name this line. And then on this one, we're going to rename it fill. All right, now on your fill layer, we're going to go to draw and paint mode and we're going to select a color. I'm going to give it a purplish color. And then I'm going to do this. Drag the color into the line. Now, if I zoom out and pinch to center up the frame, we can see that our ball now has color, which is pretty cool. Let's do a new track and sketch in a ground plane. Drawing straight line hard. Then we're going to extend the duration of this. It's a little bit crooked. Let me fix that. Cool. Now we have a ground plane. Amazing. Now I want to show you the aspect of this software that I think is very powerful. So what we're going to do to get there, with the fill group selected, new track, we'll put it in between the line and the fill. I'm going to toggle it open, and I'm going to basically make a frame and then delete it entirely just to get a blank frame. So I just drew and then erased. And I'm going to duplicate this frame a number of times until it has the same exact timing as my fill below it. This will be a little bit tedious, but trust me, it'll be worth it. Okay, now that we've done this admittedly very tedious process, let's select all those new layers we just made and group them. I'm going to duplicate this a couple times. We're going to go into track options and hit duplicate, and track options and hit duplicate. I'm going to name this shadow for the bottom one. I'm going to name the middle one highlight, and then the top one I'm going to name extra, just so we don't have to do that again. With the shadow layer selected, let's long hold, and then we're going to go to this option called mask. We're going to change it to clipping mask. Now anything I draw on these shadow layers are going to be clipped to the layer that is below it. Lastly, we're going to select shadow layer. We're going to change the blend mode to multiply. Let's give this a cool shadow. So we're going to go in and select some sort of light blue color. I'm going to go over to this frame right here, select my brush, and I'm going to give it a 3/4 top down lighting. So now we have a shadow pass. If I go to the next frame, you can see that the onion skins are turned on, and it's kind of making it a little, it's not my preference. So I'm going to turn that off right now. And we're going to go to the next frame and continue doing this until we're done with the animation. We'll speed through that. You can also do it from the timeline view right here. Cool, now I'm going to zoom out again, watch the whole thing play. You can see our ball has a shadow to it, which is pretty fun. And we have this other group called highlight. So what are we going to do with that? So let's long hold on highlight, change the blend mode to add, and then we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to long hold on it, go to mask and say clipping mask. I'm going to select a dark red or a dark orange color, maybe a little bit brighter. Then I'm going to go through and add a little highlight for every frame. I'm going to turn on onion skins for this. Cool. Now let's take a look at it. So what if you did this and it turns out you don't like the color? Well, that's just fine. But let's turn onion skins off. Let's go back to the beginning of this highlight layer in the timeline. I'm going to select HSB in here. I'm going to make it brighter, make it more saturated, and now I can move this around and it will affect the entire animation. So now we have a brighter highlight. What if we wanted to change the ball color? Same thing, go to the first frame. We're going to go to HSB and we can change the color of the ball. Maybe it's actually in sort of orangish ball. So I think that that is incredibly powerful. And if you get really in depth with it, you can do something like this. For instance, we have this animation right here. This is a base pass. This is just the silhouette of the animation. And then the details are clipped onto that base pass. So you can see the details right here. I can move it around inside. And then we have yet another pass right here that is a highlight pass. So you can see that this is sort of like a rim light that's painted on, and I believe it's set to add. If I wanted to, for instance, I could take this rim light pass. I can add a HSB, move that keyframe over here, and I can change the colors of it. So I can make it all rainbowy, which is kind of cool. make it super blown out. I mean, that doesn't look particularly good, but you can do it. And I really think that this is the power of this software, to be able to paint and composite and adjust on the fly is really, really cool. And to have it all render real time is pretty amazing. So let me bring that back to something normal. You could even do something like this. So if I took this and I duplicated this whole group, track options, duplicate. What I can do with this now, delete this, I'm going to set a Gaussian blur keyframe. I'm going to drag this over here so I can see it. Now with this Gaussian blur layer selected, I can make a little bit of a glow. Mask, none. There we go. I'm going to make this a little bit brighter so you can see it more clearly with HSB. This keyframe. So now I can add a glow to my animation, to the animation that I already put there. This isn't exactly to my taste, but it is possible and you can do it. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that you would need to know to begin using this software today if you wanted to make your own animations. If you want to learn more about the specifics of how animation is made, how it's constructed with timing and spacing and poses, anticipation, a lot of different concepts, I'm going to be teaching that in my class. And I want to take a moment to promote it once again. If you are interested, check it out. The link is below this video. Once again, all the critique seats have been filled up, but there still are spectator seats available. When the class starts, you'll gain access to a Discord, both for the school and for the class, and unlimited access to the recordings, which I think is pretty cool. Regardless of whether or not you're taking the class, I hope that these videos were helpful for you. I hope that it lowered the technical barrier of entry so that you can get into this program or other programs and start animating the things that you want to animate. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I really hope that this was helpful for you. All right, thank you so much. Goodbye. Have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever it is. Bye.